Hey bestie, if you are feeling overwhelmed by that constant juggle of work, family, life, and that little voice in the back of your head telling you to take care of yourself, you've come to the right place. I'm Alanis, your habit tracking BFF, and you are listening to Down the Habit Hole. My mission is to help women just like you master their chaos through the power of habits. So go ahead, grab a little drinky drink, and listen up as we dive down the habit hole together and talk through productivity, burnout, decision fatigue, and everything in between. Hey, happy Monday, and welcome to a new week and another episode of Down the Habit Hole. Today we are diving deep into the top 10 sneaky habits that could be sabotaging your financial goals, and more importantly, how to finally break free and get your money working for you. I first just want to preface this with that I am in no way any type of qualified financial advisor or specialist in the world of money. I'm quite literally just a small town Midwestern girl who used habits and systems to get herself out of over $10,000 in credit card debt. And full transparency here, I even still have a ways to go because a past version of me, who we still love dearly but just from a distance, enjoyed the finer things in life a bit too freely. So anyways, all of that to say that if you are ever feeling like you are constantly living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how hard you work, I see you and you are not alone. So let's get into it. The top 10 habits that are keeping you broke. Habit number 1, we're starting off strong with that you probably don't have, or at least don't stick to, any kind of budget. If you are stumbling in the dark financially, you are not only emphasizing the lack of any direction, but also increasing the potential for any big mistakes to happen. This is coming from a girl who would read those posts on social media about not having to check your bank account before grabbing fast food or filling up your gas tank. And I would just laugh, because joke's on them, I wasn't checking my bank account anyway. I was just swiping my card and hoping for the best. Pay and pray, if you will. So hear me when I say to please keep track of where your money is coming in and, more importantly, where it's going out. There are tons of budgeting apps or even some free templates on Pinterest to help you with this. Take some time to look at your last few bank statements, determine if there's any subscriptions you can cancel, and make note of where you might be spending more money than you realized. For me, this was fast food. And as always, find a budgeting method that works for you and that you know you'll be able to stick with. I know that they say ignorance is bliss, but your hard-earned money is just not the time or place for this. Which is the perfect segue into habit number 2, impulse purchases. These will sneak up on you. For me, the culprit here was, and honestly sometimes still is, Amazon. Almost every single time that I came across something that I wanted or that I thought looked cool, you would immediately find me pulling up my phone to search it up on the Amazon app, and being that I'm an Amazon Prime member, that meant that even shipping costs usually wouldn't deter me from clicking the buy now button without a second thought, because it was usually free shipping. A great rule of thumb for avoiding these caught up in the moment purchases is the 24-hour rule. Wait 24 hours before buying anything that is not an essential, just to give you time to think on the purchase, and maybe you'll second guess whether that item is really something that you need at this moment. And speaking of need, really consider whether the item in question is truly a need or if it's just a want. My go-to question to myself is, am I already currently surviving life just fine without this thing? If so, it's probably just a want. The only exception I sometimes make for myself here is whether the thing I'm considering will exponentially increase my quality of life or make something that I don't necessarily enjoy doing dramatically easier or more enjoyable. But in general, prioritize your needs and ditch the fleeting wants. Habit number 3 that's keeping you broke is living beyond your means. Keeping up with the Joneses, as they say, is a surefire way to financial stress. Lifestyle inflation is very real, so avoid the trap of constantly needing to upgrade your stuff. If your iPhone 12 is still working just fine, maybe right now just isn't the time to upgrade to the iPhone 15. And if your car gets you from point A to point B, maybe that brand new souped up 2024 car can wait on the back burner for a bit. And side note, if you're like me and your car actually isn't currently getting you from point A to point B, I hate to break it to you, and me, the brand new 2024 car is still not the way to go. Fixing your current car or buying an inexpensive used but still more reliable car is the better option here. Maybe one day my Jeep Wrangler dreams will come true. Anyways, you could even take this a step further and start living in forced scarcity, using just enough of your income to keep life fun and exciting, and setting aside the rest into savings, retirement funds, or shoveling it into any existing debt that you might have. Prioritize your future in whichever ways you wish for that future to look, one penny at a time. Habit number 4 is that you are probably not utilizing free resources. This is such a broad topic, and we won't go too far into it today, but consider anything that you currently pay for and research whether there's a free alternative to it, because hello, there probably is. It often will be at the cost of convenience, like the with ads version of a mobile app or having to go to the library to check out a book. But when you're balling on a budget, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. There's tons of free apps for fitness, health, or even habit tracking too. And side note here too, there's even a bunch of different resources for free courses or workshops online if you're looking to learn something new, especially if it's something like budgeting basics or even a new skill that you could use to make some extra cash on the side. Knowledge is power, so consider heading to your local library, checking out Google courses or apps like Coursera and Udemy. And also, my husband would be remiss if I didn't also include here that YouTube is another amazing resource for learning pretty much any skill you could possibly think of. Habit number 5 is another really big one, especially for me in my financial growth journey, and that is neglecting debt repayment. High interest debt like credit cards or personal loans is a financial monster that you need to slay. Prioritize paying it down in any way that you can. The most talked about ways to do this are the snowball or avalanche methods. The snowball method involves tackling the smallest debt first to gain momentum. Basically, you'll make the minimum payments on all your other debts and then shovel any extra income that you have from each paycheck towards the smallest debt. When you start here, it should hopefully be easy to get it taken care of, and then you can start taking all that money that you were using for that debt and start shoveling it towards the next smallest debt. Basically, as your payments start to gain momentum and the money that you are able to put towards each different debt continues to grow, you'll eventually start rolling right over all that debt, just like a snowball. And then the avalanche method works similarly, but the difference here is that you will focus on paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first, in an effort to slow down that sum from growing any bigger than it already has. Either method works great, but the key here is to just pick one and follow through on it consistently. Number 6 on my list of habits that are keeping you broke is that you're probably skipping out on meal planning. Trust me, I get it. Spending the time to prep out your meals ahead of time, for me at least, always feels like it takes way too much time and more energy than it's worth. But trust me when I say that those last-minute takeout decisions are draining your wallet. When my husband Bob and I sat down and really started paying attention to where all of our money was going, I was shocked to learn that we spent almost $400 in going out to eat in a single month once. Looking back at this, it's easy for me to recognize that every time that we didn't feel like cooking, or we felt like we were limited on time, or even just plainly that I'm an emotional eater, and sometimes when I have a bad day or I'm feeling stressed out, all a girl needs is a chicken quesadilla from Taco Bell to lift her spirits. But if you already have food that's basically ready to eat or just needs to be heated up real quick, it makes all the excuses invalid, and even the heaviest of decision-fatigued days are nothing against throwing a plate in the microwave for 2 minutes. And it's a bonus because not only is this a money-saving hack, it's a healthy eating hack built in. Though I will admit that there's still no better sad girl food than a chicken quesadilla from Taco Bell. Habit number 7 is that you are probably on subscription overload. But don't worry, it's not just you. Gym memberships you never use, streaming services you don't watch, audit your subscriptions. I know that for me in my house, streaming subscriptions get regularly reviewed to make sure that we are getting the best use out of them and canceling anything that we don't need. The fact that they make it so hard to watch all your favorite shows these days without needing to subscribe to a million different services is so unfair, and you'll hear me complain about it every time we review these subscriptions. But it is worth the extra time and energy that it takes to look into these, especially if you're not using the subscriptions at all. There's even a few apps out there these days like Rocket Money or Experian that will help you keep track of all your subscriptions and even help you cancel anything that you don't want. And just a side note here too, that if there are subscriptions that you're opting to keep, it doesn't hurt to contact them every once in a while and ask for a discount on their prices. Especially if they're running promos for new customers, they'll often offer you the same discount if you just ask. Remember that the worst they can say is no. And if they do say no, might I suggest just canceling the account anyway and starting a new account with a different email? We have been known to do this a time or two. A dollar saved is a dollar earned. Hashtag girl math. Habit number 8 is another really big culprit for me, and that is retail therapy. When I'm feeling a little anxious or stressed out, I love a little treat me trip to TJ Maxx or Target. But I'm also the girl that walks into these stores looking for one or two things in particular, and it's almost like I just completely black out, and the next thing I know, my total is several $100s. See impulse buying. So know thyself in these situations, my friend. It might feel good in the moment, but that retail hangover is brutal, y'all. Take the time to identify any emotional triggers that you might have. Maybe take someone along with you that you can count on to help you say no to things you don't need. P.S. Husbands are great at this. And if needed, just find some healthier coping habits like going for a walk, finding a new hobby, or calling a friend. Remember that my DMs are always open. Habit number 9 is that you are probably not automating your bills. I'll be the first to admit that auto bill pay is not my BFF, and I do not use it in most cases because I'm a little crazy when it comes to controlling where my money goes. However, that is not to say that I didn't make up my own automated system to paying my bills. I'll say it again and again until I'm blue in the face. The best habits and systems are the ones that you can stick to and be consistent with. If it's auto pay for you, more power to you. It's less thought and conscious effort that you have to put into it, and I love that for you if you can better spend that energy elsewhere. All I'm saying is that ultimately you should automate in some way or another, a way to make sure all of your bills are being paid on time and in full. In the spirit of full transparency here, there was a time in my life in the not so distant past where I was straight up not making enough money to pay all the bills I needed to pay. So that's when I created my own hierarchy system of most important bills to least important, and each time I got paid, I'd sit down at my desk with a calculator, I'd go down that list and pay the minimum payments on each of those bills basically until I ran out of money. I'm blessed and happy to say that these days it's not as much of a struggle for me, but I do still use the same system with some added caveats to it. As I mentioned before, I'm still pretty aggressively paying off some of my consumer debt, and we're using the snowball method that we talked about before. So when I do go down this list, the last thing that I focus on once all my other bills are paid is dumping the rest of my paycheck into my current smallest debt. And as an added note, I feel inclined to mention that we do also have an emergency fund, and as of more recently, it's even built into my hierarchy to set a small amount of spending money aside for fun and date nights as well. It's no longer all bills all the time around here, but if you need a more strict budget, then by all means, work hard now so that you can party hard later. And then last, but certainly not least, this ties perfectly into the final habit on my list of habits that are keeping you broke, and that is that you are probably not automating your savings. For me, this ties into my aforementioned hierarchy, but for you, this might mean setting up your direct deposit so that $20 goes into a high-yield savings account every pay period, or maybe it's that a percentage of your paycheck gets sent directly to your retirement fund before you ever even see the money. Prioritize paying yourself first, and treat your savings as if it's another bill that you just have to pay every month, and keep your savings separate enough so that it's not too easy to just transfer that money back into your checking account. It's easy to feel like your savings is just a safety net in case you fall short, but I know from firsthand experience that it's important to differentiate, because otherwise, next thing you know, you're ordering, quote, emergency pizza, unquote, because you have a coupon expiring in a few days. And my last bonus tip for you here is to increase your personal standards for the lowest threshold of your checking account. I think the default mindset for most of us is that you obviously don't want your account to fall below zero, but what if you shifted this thought process and made the conscious decision that from here on out, you will not be allowing your account to fall below $200 or maybe even $500. This way, you still have a safety net if you absolutely need it, but you still know better than to order that emergency pizza that's $20 if you only have $10 to spend. Time to make 500 the new zero, people. All right, let's recap these 10 habits and how we're going to start overcoming them today. Number 1, stick to a budget. 2, stop impulse buying on every fleeting thought that seems cool or trendy in the moment. 3, live within your means or even within forced scarcity. 4, look into and start utilizing the free resources that are literally at your fingertips. 5, pay off that bad debt, besties. 6, take some time once a week to get that meal prep in. 7, cancel all those dang subscriptions you're not using anymore. 8, stop going shopping every time you feel a little sad or you had a bad day. 9, automate paying your bills in any way that feels right to you. And 10, automate your savings in any and every way that you can. And I'll leave you with a few hot tips before I send you on your way. Identify your financial kryptonite. Pinpoint the bad money habits that you have and the biggest impacts on your finances. From there, develop a replacement habit. Think of a more positive way to replace your negative spending habits. For example, swap your impulse shopping for a walk through the park. Bonus points if it's with your dog. And then track your progress. Monitor your behavior and celebrate your successes. Every win is another step towards a better and happier you. Financial freedom is within your reach. Take action, break free from the bad spending habits, and watch your financial future thrive. Leave a comment and share your favorite tips, or let me know if I missed a tip that you believe should be on this list. I firmly believe that there's room for each and every one of us to win. So let's help each other crush our financial goals one Starbucks iced sugar-free vanilla latte at a time. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Down the Habit Hole with me, Alanis Van Duzer. Remember, you're not alone in this journey to balancing your chaos. Join me over on Instagram at Down the Habit Hole Pod. And don't be shy, slide into my DMs. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode, answer your burning questions, or even just have a little chat. Plus, if you share this episode on your Instagram story and tag me at Down the Habit Hole Pod, I'll be picking one lucky listener each week to win Starbucks on me. Until next time, friend, may your coffee be strong and your to-do list be short.